premiums prizes, breakfast seminars, events like that, that some of you might be familiar with. And now to the actual reason why we are all here. So the New South Wales Biosciences Fund is for the development of new and innovative systems and devices within New South Wales. It's a competitive process. It opens in March, and funding recipients are typically announced in November. It was launched in 2023. This is the second round. We have $3.5 million in available funding. It's across the branches of biological sciences, biotechnology, life sciences, which includes biomanufacturing, genetic engineering, etc. If your product is a medical device, then please note that you will be ineligible for the Biosciences Fund. Medical devices are typically supported through the Medical Devices Fund, which is run by New South Wales Health, and that will open next month. You can ask up to $2 million, and applications close on the 1st of May. So it was supposed to close on the 30th of April. This morning, we've just moved it to the 1st of May. These are some of the companies that we've supported through our various programs. Highlighted in the middle are the 3 BioSF recipients. I would advise that, if you're curious to know more about them, you can look at the Chief Scientist page. Due to lack of time, I'll just move on to the next slide. So what makes this program so unique and different to everything else is, one, that you can ask up to $2 million. The second one is, if you were to go to an angel investor or a VC for that kind of money, you would have had to give up something, a stake or a board. But here it is non-dilutive. And third, for some of you might be familiar with the MVP grant, which, it is a smaller grant, but even for that $25,000 that you ask for, as an example, you will have to show matched funding of $25,000. Here you can ask up to $2 million and you do not need to show matched funding. Fourth, again, another incredibly unique feature is that you get the money up front. Again, a lot of government grants, how they work is that, if you're going to get $1 million as an example, you will get 200,000 up front, and then you have to reach a few milestones, and then you have to submit a report to that government department, and then they release another 300,000, and that's how the process works. Here, again, if it's 2 million, you get that upfront as soon as you sign the deed of agreement with us, which typically happens in November, December. You can submit an invoice to us in early Jan. And then this is a repayment grant, which means that if you are successful to the point where you develop your device across the whole supply chain and you start selling it and you start earning revenue, and then your cumulative EBITDA, which looks at the losses in the early years, and you keep moving through the process, and then it starts reaching positive numbers, and then it reaches a revenue where there is a repayment trigger. When it hits that repayment trigger, then you start repaying the grant as payments. Again, remember that is revenue. As a quick example is Hysara is a company that we supported through the Physical Sciences Fund, which is what the Biosciences Fund is mirrored on. That is another program that we manage at our office. And Hysara got $1.5 million from us. They have since gone on to raise more than $200 million, but they don't have to pay us back because capital raising or additional investments are not counted as revenue from our end. So Hysara will continue to raise money and continue to develop their product. And then once what obviously as New South Wales government we'd like to see is you continue to build that relationship, that supply chain with other like manufacturing, sales. You go through the whole supply chain and then you start selling, and then you're contributing to that ecosystem here. Again, you can apply again in the future if you're unsuccessful. We're hoping that there will be future rounds of the Biosciences Fund. So these are the eligibility criteria. One, you must have an ABN and be registered for GST purposes. Again, when you invoice us, it will include GST when we pay it out. You should be a New South Wales headquartered company. So you should be this grant is only open to New South Wales companies. And you must hold the IP or rights to commercialize. You will find that question in the application form where we ask for detail. And if you have two products, or if you are part of an organization or a group that would like to apply more than once, that is not allowed. If we find more than one application, we will ask you either you're becoming eligible, or in certain cases, we ask you which one you want to. It depends on the timeline. If you'd like to withdraw an application. Eligible grant activities. Again, if I'll be going through these really quickly, but all of this is on our guidelines. I strongly encourage everyone to read the guidelines before you apply, because the actual application form is heavily linked to the guidelines. So what we are asking for the funding that you're requesting is a project period of 2 years with clear and achievable milestone. It should seek to progress your innovation across the commercialization pathway. You should show evidence of an existing prototype of proof of concept. Again, that is TRL, technology readiness level 3. It should be at least that, and that's what we are asking for the evidence of. If you're not familiar with TRL levels, you please again go to the guidelines. I will be giving you a QR code of our Chief Scientist page at the end of this presentation, so that you can go to our page and you'll find the guidelines and the application form there. On the last page of the guidelines, you can find this scale. And then funding can be used for everything from prototyping, manufacturing, testing, regulatory approval, salaries, etc. And so these are eligible grant activities and costs. So what is ineligible? Ineligible to apply: not-for-profits, government agencies, international companies, Australian subsidiaries of international companies, which means that we want the main organization to apply. If you are a big conglomerate in Australia, or if you are a company that earns more than $2.5 million in revenue, but you have now this smaller company that you've started because there is this one project that you have, that's how you've designed the layout of your company, the organizational structure, and you'd like that company to apply to the BioSF, that is ineligible. And then ineligible products, like I said, if you don't show evidence that you are at least a TRL3, then you're ineligible. And ineligible costs is purchasing land, costs incurred to preparing grant applications or related documentation, whether this one or others. Project costs that were part of, that you spent before getting this funding, business costs, improving internal business processes, things like that. And now the application process, we only accept applications through the Smarty Grants administration system. We treat your information confidential, but if it is confidential, mark it as so, particularly your attachments. Every application must be signed off by the required person, and you need to authorize it, and we do not encourage or consider late submissions unless it's extenuating circumstances. Again, we would encourage you to start your application today, save it on Smarty Grants, and keep progressing as you go. All applicants will be notified of the outcome. If you are unsuccessful, we offer a feedback session. All you need to do is reach out and ask what are the reasons why you were not successful, and we will go through our notes and get back to you. And we typically have a half an hour for 40-minute phone call or with the applicant explaining, because we have found that really helps applicants with grant applications, particularly if this is not something that they're familiar with, and hopefully that helps you with other grant applications out there. All inquiries should come to us. Okay, so the assessment process, again, there are 2 stages. Stage 1 is where we are all at. So as you can see on the right side, this is a commercialization grant. So 40% commercialization and 30% deliverability means that this is 70% skewed towards the realization of your product. How it happens is when you submit your preliminary applications to us, we undertake an eligibility assessment. You saw the eligibility criteria earlier and all the other parameters. We will um, progress eligible applications to our subcommittee. Now we have an independent subcommittee and independent expert panel. These are made up of members from academia, um, the industry, and VCs and people with commercialization experience or IP attorneys. We have like a whole range of skill set that combine to them who are professionals and experts in this area, and they will assess and shortlist the applications to the expert panel. The expert panel will then further shortlist a few applications to go to stage 2. Now stage 2 is where we ask for a comprehensive amount of information and almost evidence to back up anything you've mentioned in your preliminary application. So it can everything from letters of support, relationships with some of the partners, IP documentation, detailed business plans. Again, these are all there in the guidelines. And then the other part is please note that we have an independent financial advisor who will be contracted to the program, and their job is to look at your financial application, financial submissions. Again, we will be asking a lot more as stage 2. So they join the program at stage 2, and their job is to look at your project from a financial perspective and provide feedback to the expert panel on your ask, how your company is doing, if your project requests are legitimate, things like that. And also we have a probity advisor who will be from day one, like they're already part of the program. They will monitor everything we do to ensure that everything is fair and transparent, and they advise us on anything that they find might be actual or potential or perceived conflict of interest. The key dates to note here is, okay, so you're aware that the round is currently open. Please note that the closing date is now the 1st of May. And like I said, on the 1st of May, we collate all the applications, undertake eligibility assessment, then the subcommittee will assess them, then the expert panel will assess them, shortlisting these applications on the way, and then the final round of applications, because it is so comprehensive, it will happen on the 27th of August. And then the companies will have almost 3 weeks to submit their information, and then they're notified in October. Now, the assessment criteria is there in the guidelines. However, this table is not. So what this table here right in front of you is essentially linking or color coding each question to the application form, relevant application form question. Now, like I said, we will be uploading the video on our website, or you're welcome to take screenshots of the slide if that's convenient to you. But either way, your application form has this information already. So under each question, it mentions which assessment criterion this is linked to. So you can see first, when we start off, we have questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we go to, I'll just move to the next slide. Innovation has 6, 7, and 8. And then we have a few more commercialization questions, and then we jump to deliverability. So this section, essentially, it's asking you, define the problem. Now, this question is not scored, but this is what you are telling the issue is, like the motivation for your application. What is the problem? What is currently out there in terms of solutions? What are you proposing, and what makes that unique in terms of everything out there? And what is your business model, and how ready are you with regards to your solution? And then you go to the innovation side, which is evidence of your innovation, its technical viability and the technical details, and what the current technology readiness level is, what you hope to accomplish this year, some parallelly to your application, and what your objective, like where do you want your project to reach at the end of the BioSF funding, and then obviously questions about IP. And then we go back to the other slide, and then here the question says, how much funding are you requesting, why do you need funding, what activities will be covered under the funding, and then what are the benefits to New South Wales, which is obviously an important question from our end. And then finally, in deliverability, we are asking for evidence of the capitalization table and management structure, your project plan, and who you are essentially, how your structure is. Are you a university team? Are you from a research organization? Are you a bootstrap startup? Or are you an existing company that's been around for a few years now? And who the key members of your organization are, and what your operating and financial model is looking like, along with financial documentation. So if we were to go back to the first slide, this would be asking about the market. This would be asking about your technology, and this would be asking about you and where you stand in this in terms of your the expertise that you're going to bring to your innovation. And that's pretty much my presentation. We just have a few more slides. So this is the QR code that will take you to the Chief Scientist page, where you will be able to see the guidelines and the application form. I would advise you to preview the form and take a quick look at the questions and then start a submission. So you need a login and password. So just create a login and password, start your submission, and then over the next few weeks, answer your questions. Another thing that we do is, I don't know how many of you are aware of Cicada Innovations. They are Australia's biggest and one of the world's most prominent deep tech incubators out there. And we have funded a program where Cicada has made a deep tech foundation course available for free. So the key learning outcome is here to refine your go-to-market strategy and become grant ready and articulate your unique value proposition. So for those who are doing this for the first time, or for those who are not familiar with how government grants work or how to submit or communicate your idea in a few words, we would encourage you to do this foundations course. I've done it myself. It doesn't, you need it, you can do it in over a couple of days. We also have a Deep Tech Elevate program, which you can register for, and that is a 2-day workshop at Cicada. And every year we also provide 4 teams. We fund 6-month residency program at Cicada, where they have the entire Cicada ecosystem available for them in terms of utilizing their labs or utilizing their networks and just essentially fast tracking your company. Again, the truth of the matter is, almost every grant's first round is always written. And so the ability to communicate in 200 words or 300 words, the key elements of your innovation or your team or your market readiness, and also to highlight and not to make any tall claims or just stick to the facts, things like that is a skill that some people are quite proficient in. And so anything we can do to help, we are happy to, and this is one of those ways we do it. And finally, we have a commercialization showcase. You can register for tickets here. It will be on the 30th of April, so the day before the round closes, at Aerial Center at UTS. It is essentially a celebration of all the companies, a lot of the companies that we have supported over the years, and you'll be able to meet them. There will be people from the industry and different VCs there. Essentially, you can hear the pitches from these companies who we are really proud to support.